first, we've got to hit President Trump signing the USMCA into law today. And joining us in a first on CNBC interview is Peter Navarro, White House Director of the Office of Trade and Manufacturing Policy. Welcome, Peter. Nice to see you.
Hey, Sarah. Hey, Carl. What's going on?
So tell us a little bit about how you're thinking about the economic growth. The president said more than 1% as a result of the USMCA. How do we get there?
Yeah, so Michael was talking about short hits. This is what we put in place today was a long-term economic driver. And I think the most important thing to know about USMCA is it's designed to reestablish North America as an auto manufacturing hub for the world, with Detroit as the center of that universe. And the beauty of USMCA is it's got these tough regional content rules coupled with strict environmental and labor protections, which will make sure the U.S. and Detroit gets its fair share of auto manufacturing. And then, in addition to that, we've got really nice things for agriculture. Dairy farmers in Wisconsin are going to be able to scale the Great Walls of Canadian production. We're going to see a lot of things in terms of north-south trade down the southern border. And tomorrow, the president's going to get on a plane and go to two places symbolically, Michigan and Iowa, that I think bracket this idea that this agreement is great for all 50 states, and farmers and auto workers and manufacturers are going to benefit. So this will be a nice pulse. The numbers on this in terms of growth, 75,000 auto jobs, a couple 100,000 jobs overall, some growth in terms of real GDP. So great day for the White House. I remember back in 2016 in June when candidate Trump gave his famous jobs plan speech outside of Pittsburgh, promised to renegotiate NAFTA. This is promises made, promises kept for Donald J. Trump.
Very important signing today, Peter. You're absolutely right. Not to jump too quickly to the impact of the coronavirus, but obviously there's the fear that it's going to unwind some of the potential benefits of phase one. Sonny Perdue today said he didn't know whether it would affect ag commitments. How much are you worried about that unwind or potential unwind?
Well, we have a really strong leadership with Secretary Azar and the CDC. We're working very carefully and diligently on this. So let's see how this unfolds. This is not my lane per se, so I'm going to let others come on CNBC and inform that.
I mean, the whole thing with both the USMCA passage today or signing by the president and phase one China is that it removes the uncertainty for business. And so investors and economists are expecting a growth pickup just from that alone. Why leave the tariffs in place if you're hoping to create growth as a result of these trade deals?
Sure. The China tariffs have been tremendously successful in two things. One is defending American technological crown jewels against Chinese economic aggression. And two, they act as an insurance policy to make sure that China comes to the bargaining table to sign phase one, but also comes back to the bargaining table to sign phase two. And remember, what we didn't do in phase one is deal with China's unfair subsidies and state-owned enterprises, which to this day hammer American industry and American workers. And the tariffs themselves basically act as countervailing duties against that economic aggression. So what President Trump has done is put into place a system and a process where we think over time we can get to a great place.
Well, Peter, if it's evident that the Chinese are working in good faith, even with the challenges of the virus, is it possible you could see tariff rollbacks on the part of the White House as a stimulus mechanism to help them out?
That's a spin that's coming right out of Wall Street, and it really, I think it does a disservice to this whole crisis to bring that into the discussion.
So that's a no.
Well, again, let's remember why the tariffs are in place. The tariffs are in place because China engages in massive unfair subsidies. They use their state-owned enterprises to put American companies and workers out of business. And the tariffs also ensure that we come back for phase two. I think what's really important here is, like, we got a great phase one deal. Everything's moving forward, and I think what we need to do is to talk about progress in USMCA and all the good stuff instead of dwelling on that kind of question at this point in during a crisis.
Well, one place that people are looking next is Europe as a trade target, and we know that the president has said that he would impose auto tariffs if the Europeans don't make a deal. What's your expectation at this point about whether we're going to see those tariffs?
So let's just step back and understand President Trump and how he works with trade policy. For example, Mexico we had a tariff issue with Mexico, and the next thing we knew, they did more in 2 days to help us with border security than they had done in 20 years. As the president has talked about, 2020 has to be the year where we come to some kind of understanding with Europe that they can't keep treating us so unfairly. Our trade deficit with Europe is approaching $200 billion a year. It's absolutely insane for Germany to be able to charge a tariff on American autos, which is 4 times higher than what we're charging on them. And those kinds of unfair and non-reciprocal relationships with Europe are endemic and systemic in the system. So what the president is trying to do with Ambassador Lighthizer is to work with the Europeans and say, hey, all we want to do, all we want here is fairness. And now we're gonna basically try to get that with the tools we have at play.
Peter Navarro, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.